Nuggets Europe, everyone. Nuggets are going to Game 7. We're all very shocked since they usually get it done in 4 games, right? So tonight we have a packed house for you. It's European crossover you always wanted. We have Evan, we have Ben, we have Milan, and we have Miroslav, all primed and hyped to talk to another Nuggets comeback. So, guys, we'll start with a few questions, but just feel free to jump in, if you have something in your mind. This hype train is reaching terminal velocity at this point because Jokic is being touted as the best player in the series. That includes Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. We have Torrey Craig getting 2 assists in a game and a clutch three-pointer. And can this get any crazier at this point? So, okay, we'll start with Milan. So you were always our steadying presence all this time, even though you were super mad at Malone, Millsap, Craig, MPJ, people who wiped the floor, and the clock operator.
Yeah.
But you never wavered, and you can claim your I told you so prize at this point. So how are you feeling about this comeback? We know this was a game plan for them, but getting down 16 in Game 5 and getting down 19 in Game 6, was it too much of a hold to for us Nuggets fans? And are they fair to do this to us again? Just cardiac arrest wise.
You said it all great, but you forget to mention Jamal Murray. I also get mad on Jamal Murray pretty much, pretty much. So. But I feel great. I feel great, man. You guys have no idea what was that game for me. I was literally breaking the chairs, the tables. I was getting mad. Even if it was the 19 points deficit, I was still getting mad because I knew they will win, and they'll be forced the Game 7. As I said, I always get on point with the Nuggets so far in this playoff, and I'm positively sure that they will prevail in Game 7 because, as Jokic said, they play loose, they play relaxed, they will enjoy the moment, and like the U.S. media say, they play on house money, so nothing to lose. And this time, as Mislav said, our friend said, I will maybe get my house on them to win this one.
Yeah, true. I mean, I'm joking. You were mad at people, but you never actually not believed that. In the going
that's
7.
true. That's true.
Yeah. Ben, Evan, Miroslav, how are you guys doing after this madness? You can jump in any point. Ben, go for it. You were hyped a lot.
Oh man, I've been thinking back on all of the games I've watched, and what I loved is that just before this game, they showed the 2012 Game 7 on Sky Sports here in the UK. They showed the 2012 Game 7 against the Lakers, and I thought, what are they trying to do here? They're trying to break our hearts just before we kind of go back into it, dig up old wounds. I can't remember having as much fun watching a game as I had last night watching that game. It was just indescribable, man. I was running around my house. I was sweating. Look, I mean, there was 2, I think MPJ and Jamal Murray both said last night Nikola Jokic was the best player on earth. And I could not agree more. I think he was the greatest basketball player that earth has last night. He was just so reliable. And, it just seems in this series, he can get whatever he wants, whenever he wants. They have switched so many players onto him and it's done nothing. Keep that going into Game 7. I feel great. I feel absolutely great.
Yeah, I mean, you're completely right. He was just dominating it, and he was toying with them, as the announcers would say. Evan, what do you think? I mean, we can get into some of the technical stuff if you want. Or you can just tell me the feelings. You're the pro here. We can start off with analysis. So, what stood out to you in the 2 big comebacks in Game 5 and 6?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's just. Well, first of all, I'm on top of the world. Oh, is it not working?
Oh, it's
cool.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, so yeah, the Nuggets are just the better team at this point. I think so much of the national media is focused on LA and how deep the Clippers are. That's the word they've used, deep. But then you look at their roster here. They have the sixth man of the year, Montrezl Harrell. He's getting played off the floor. JaMychal Green hasn't done anything. Lou Williams hasn't done anything. And meanwhile, Denver's got each night different players stepping up. In Game 5, Jeremy Grant was huge. He didn't do anything in Game 6. Torrey Craig didn't do anything in Game 5. He came through in Game 6. Paul Millsap finally remembered how to play basketball for one quarter in Game 5. He was also missing in action in Game 6. So what's really stood out to me is just the depth of Denver and how well-rounded of a team the Nuggets really are. And I think that's something that a lot of people have overlooked. But that's been the biggest difference in this game, or in this series, besides Nikola Jokic, who I think has been the best player in the series and in the playoffs if you look at it. So I'm feeling really good about Game 7. I don't think there's any way, barring the Nuggets beating themselves by, choosing to loaf around or whatever, I don't think there's any way that they lose.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like the thing with Nuggets, as I noticed too, is they're deep when it's convenient for the argument. So like if the Will Barton or Gary Harris are hurt, it's not a big deal because the Nuggets have the bench. But if they're playing the Clippers, they're not deep enough to beat the Clippers. So it's always kind of flipped. So Miroslav, I saw you were drinking beer, and it's probably still celebration time, of course. What are you feeling like? How did this game day go for you? It was, to mention, in Europe was prime time for Europe time, a little bit early for us here in US.
Yeah, this prime time is actually quite tricky for me because of my small kids. This game was divided into three portions for me. First half, I was actually not really stressed out while the Nuggets were down 16, because I was really feeling they've been playing good. They didn't play bad first 2 quarters at all. It was just they were missing some open shots, and the Clippers were just making everything. So I was figuring, come on, man, this cannot last for the whole game. Something will turn around. And then the how do you say, this 15 minutes between the two halves, that was the most stressful part for me, because I had to put both of my kids to sleep and to bathe both of them. So it was really rush time for me. It was really stressful. But when I got through that, I was like, okay, now easy sailing from now on. So yeah, the second half was just just beautiful music on a basketball court. It was beautiful. It was really good that Nikola Jokic decided to turn his cheat mode on. So he was like, getting whatever he wanted. It was crazy. We got to see, I think, his first somber shuffle 3. It was beautiful. He attempted like seven different somber shuffles. Okay, I might be wrong on that, but this was for sure the record of the number of somber shuffle attempts in one game.
Definitely.
It was just wonderful. And Jamal had a really, really efficient game. It was beautiful to see that great dunk on Paul George after the injury. I love that part. And actually everybody contributed. We had great Torrey Craig. We had great things from Jeremy Grant. I mean, it was the whole team. Monte Morris, beautiful game, Monte Morris. I just loved this game. It was probably next to the Magnificent Seven in Utah. This is my second favorite or first favorite game. I have no idea. I have to see it again, both of them, just to check which one is better.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was for sure a complete team win and balance in both games too. It wasn't something that MPJ scored 40 and it was just a fluke game that wasn't expected. This was well balanced. Point distribution was proper, as I would say it. So Milan, tell me, Miroslav talked about the stress between the halves, and we were down by 16. Do you think something changed on offense with us, or defensively we clamped down on the Clippers, or the Clippers just missed shots? Because there'll be a lot of there will be a lot of Clippers fans and and probably like a lot of media still with the stubborn takes, if all the Clippers just didn't make anything, it wasn't anything that the Nuggets did. So what do you think? Like, what do we change anything kind of scheme wise from games 4 to games 5 and 6, or MPJ comments were also a thing as well in the meantime of moving the ball around. So how did all this look? Like, what do you looking from the after those 2 games, how looking from the sidelines?
We didn't change anything. I think we play good defense, great defense in the second half. We play a good defense in the first half also, but turnovers are cost. Turnovers were very costly. In the first half, that MPJ turnover when he kicked the ball, my God, I was so furious. You better don't want to know what's happening in that moment. We are a better team right now. Clippers in the first half, they, as Miroslav said, they shooting and they scoring on everything possession. I saw them play only isolation game. Paul George came to pick and roll. He shoots, he scored. There is 50-50. He will score or he will not score. There is no ball moving. There is no anything that basketball make the basketball. If you know what I'm saying. They will play great. I really, really enjoy that. And in the one moment of the game, you can't score anything anymore. Then you need to force things. Then will make them force things. They will make them miss. And on the other end, Jokic was on, like on the other planet. I don't know what happens to him. So that's it from me.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, Jokic was, it's just unbelievable what he does. And Evan mentioned, I said earlier that Harrell is getting played off the floor. And I think it was in that stretch when Jokic hit those big threes. It was right, when Montrezl Harrell is off on the help side and pick and pops were just a killer for him. And Ben, you kind of shared privately our reaction about one of those clutch 3-pointers that Jokic made, and it happened in, I think it was the game 6 yesterday. I mean, pumped wasn't even beginning to describe what you felt, but kind of walk us through and what in those big shots that Jokic hit, like what's in your mind, and also what you see on the floor, kind of what would you think, like what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we all feel that emotional investment in this team. We've built the way this team's been built organically through the draft and through smart off-season acquisitions, through free agency and stuff. It's not been this manufactured superstar collaboration kind of thing. We've got to this level organically, more so than I've seen with any team, maybe aside from the Boston Celtics. Like, really, it's just such a great thing to see. And just other than just loving the Nuggets as a whole, seeing them go down 19 points at one point is so frustrating. But then to watch them just to know, and there's a tweet I saw from Brendan Vogt, which was a great tweet. It said probably the most surprising thing about this is that it's not surprising, or something to that effect. Yep. To be down that much and know we still have a chance because we've been there so many times with our backs against the wall, down a certain amount, to come back. And it wasn't like we just came back and then we were fighting for the game. We came back and we just mullered them in that second half. We didn't just win that game. We won that game by a considerable margin. I think it was 11 or 12 points or something. But it's just, I don't know, it's just a beautiful thing to see. And as I say, the things I saw from that game, I mean, look, there's something I think every time I watch this team play through this playoffs is that Milan called that Utah series and he just said, we're going to win this series. And I said, oh, I just wish I had your confidence. Yeah, and then we went 3-1 down to the Clippers and he said, we're going to win this series. So in my heart, I just know the confidence was here and now it's gone through here because this guy seems to have something up there. Just, but yeah, as I say, it was a collective effort. 8 indispensable guys that just, played their hearts out. I think without Gary Harris's defense on Paul George, I don't think we get as far as we get. I think he's been the absolute unsung hero of this. I mean, maybe not unsung. We have spoken about him quite a lot, but his defense is otherworldly. There was a segment in that game where he got 3 steals in a row within a minute. Yeah. His hands he was everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And yeah, other than the obvious Jokic, domination, there was so many other players you could pick out. So yeah, as I say, just no words really. One of my favorite games I've ever seen.
I agree there completely. It was, and as it was, I guess, popularized by Adam Mara, as the ball is popping department was on fire. Those, obviously those clutch shots, everyone kind of got involved. I do want to like touch up on just that specific, because you talked about Gary Harris. I mean, he wasn't the only one. So Miroslav, like when we talk about ball is popping, that requires, for that to work, that requires people to make shots and to be confident. And what did you see out there? Like, how did, MPJ, we saw that he responded well. Like Torrey Craig, I joked he hit a clutch 3. Like that was after like so many times we were climbing back there and we couldn't get a hold of that lead for like 3 or 4 times. And I feel like if he missed that open three for the lead, this series might have been over just based on, we were just there. So what do you think? I mean, obviously we need to keep this going, but what do you think the guys' confidence are at this point, like to trust in each other and everything?
Well, I love that you brought up the ball is popping part, because there is one thing that you mentioned before, that national media is still not giving any credit to Nuggets. They're all talking about, Clippers laying an egg against the Nuggets and the Nuggets like shooting like crazy or something like that. I want to remind everybody that this is actually the beautiful part of growing the dynasty of Nuggets. Because if you remember the season that was 18-19, when the Nuggets got to the playoffs for the first time after like 5-6 years, that was a beautiful season to watch, because they were winning all of those games one by one. They got to the second place before the playoffs, just behind the great Golden State Warriors. And that was a really enjoyable season to watch. And now we are in this season that's been lasting for like 18 months now or something. And this season wasn't as fun as the one before, because now we had great expectations from the Nuggets. So now it was very stressful. We were just complaining about bad start of the season in October, in November. What is Jokic doing? Even though they were still winning the games, but it didn't feel the same. It's because we've changed our perception on the team. So now when we are in the playoffs and we have this outsider banner on us, it's beautiful. Because as Adam Mares usually say, you need to kill the dragon, you need to slay the dragon before they really understand how good you are. So let's just enjoy these moments, because next season, after we get to the Western Conference Finals, it will not be as fun as this time around. Because next time, if we don't get to the Western Conference Finals, it will be a really, really bad time for us. So let's just enjoy this moment. And yes, I agree, boys were playing much better in this game. The ball was really popping. I remember this one detail in the fourth quarter when they put the double on Jokic, and he found somebody in the corner. I don't remember who it was. It's probably Gary.
Yeah.
It was a really hard pass to Gary in the corner, and then Gary just moved it to Michael Porter for a wide open 3. That's just beautiful. That's poetry in the movement. So we really need to cherish every of these moments at the moment, and hopefully we get to the Lakers. But let's cross that bridge when we're there. But yeah, Nuggets in 7. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah, Nuggets in 7.
Yeah. You kind of give me a good segue about, you talked about the expectation 7. the ball is popping thing was one of the points that MPJ, made after the game. Obviously, like we talked about how maybe not in like the best way to do it in national media, but we can see that maybe that was the plan all along from the coaches. But just that, what does it say about the coach in the locker room when, dealing with all these expectations, almost at the brink of embarrassment or elimination, let's say to Utah, and now with proving every doubter, every critic right, that they're going to lose, in 5 games to the Clippers, and MPJ makes those comments after a 3-1 hole, and they still bounce back and actually like play how he said they should play, which is, again, we bashed on him a lot, but those comments weren't, he just didn't come up with those. Those are probably coaches' comments and the thing that they were talking about the entire year. But what does it say about the job that Malone has done and the the leaders and Jokic and Murray have done to keep the team together even after the controversy that Michael Porter just threw out there?
I mean, I think it speaks everything about the kind of locker room that Malone has built and the kind of chemistry that these guys have. I think, if someone on the Clippers were to have said that, it would have been a huge thing. And they've had those kind of controversies even this year, and it hasn't gone over well. But it really could have been a lot worse. And so the fact that, Malone addressed it the next day, he said in his interview, "Oh, we talked it over as a team. We're on the same page now." And then they went out and took care of business. It speaks volumes of the kind of team that this is, and that and Malone, as a head coach, he could have been offended by that. He could have taken that the wrong way and blown it up. But he's a very mature coach. He's a great people person. All of his guys have bought into him. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that. I think a lot of times, and I'm guilty of it too, every now and then we see these guys maybe make questionable rotation decisions or whatnot, and it's the natural thing to do is to blame the coach. And Malone, he's not a perfect coach, but he's the best man for this job and for this team that we have right now, and he's done a phenomenal job. And the resilience that these guys have and the trust they have in one another, I think the results speak for itself.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I don't think there could be the 3-1 twice if there was no cohesion. And Mirza, you have.
Yeah, if I might add something, I would like to apologize to Mike Malone because we didn't say a lot of bad things about him, but we expressed our displeasure with his coaching, especially against Utah. But one thing I have to say now is the playoffs. It's the hardest possible games out there for every team. Every coaching staff have like 15 coaches out there figuring out what are the weaknesses and just harping on it. And I can hear that every NBA community, every NBA family is harping on their coaches for the bad results in the playoffs, because at the end there will be only one team with a championship. So the other 15 teams that are out of the playoffs are usually just harping on the coach and his rotations and plus minus and blah blah. And it's really not fair, because it's really really hard thing to do. And Mike Malone is coaching his ass off, so kudos to him. And let's go win this, baby.
Yeah, Milan. I mean, you and I were probably the harshest on MPJ's comments, and if we were making decisions, we would have him on the bench, probably not even playing. And what do you think about the job? Like we were the ones doubted, the whole with Malone and how he handled that, and how he will handle that, and MPJ that he should be reined in. So what do you think? Like I have to eat crow now, because we were talking about the old school in Yugoslavia, and he should be benched, and that's not something you do. But I mean, I guess Malone has, obviously knows more than we do, talking from the side. But
Definitely.
He seems that he knew, that he knew what kind of kid he has, and even though the whole comments, like he has he has MPJ's trust apparently. What do you think? Obviously we gotta kind of backtrack on that, but what's your opinion of how he handled it?
He handled it great for the Nuggets' sake. That's definitely, you know, you can, even if he isn't willingly putting MPJ on the floor, he knows he need to, because this is a playoff, this is semifinals. You don't need that kind of distraction now. But after he had two awful turnovers in the first half. And if I was a coach, I would definitely sit him. You know, the one when he hit the ball with the leg, you know, it's happened.
Yeah.
He don't move really well with the ball. He doesn't have great handles. But one when he threw that pass in the, I don't know which hand that was it Kawhi or Paul George? You know, a player with 7 foot tall. And he threw the ball straight in the opposition hands. I was mad. I was furious.
Yeah.
You know, it's an open court for the opposition team. You know, it's terrible. Sometimes I don't know if does he even know where he stand. You know, he thinks probably it's you know, it's a pickup game for him. I think still. I don't have. But that was the great thing, because with that mind he shoot that 3 in the game 5 so smoothly, so fearless, and he hit it, you know. So
and he hit another in game 6 too.
He is definitely double-edged sword, you know.
Yeah.
And you
so far, so far we haven't really been burned by him. Yeah, that was that one you talk about when he hit his foot. That was a 3-on-0 fast break, and I think Torrey Craig threw it out of bounds, and it was coming up high, and the thing was like maybe 2 or 4 points for the Clippers, and he hit his leg and went out of bounds. And the other one, he was just dribbling in the fast break, and he just left the ball out, like he just kind of floated it, just dribbling and dropped it.
We are all Europeans, and we, you know, see basketball very different way than Americans. You know, when the guy grabbed the rebound, and
Evan is American.
Oh, sorry, Evan. Oh, you know, and
say it, man.
And when the player get the ball on the rebound, you know, they instantly go forward. And when MPJ got the ball or Torrey Craig get the ball, I scream, stop, wait, don't rush, please. You know, you have
find your ball handler, your ball handler, you know. Outlet as well. As taught as a child, it's outlet, straight away as soon as you grab a ball.
Gary Harris had that moment in his game. He rush and he go and pull up 3. Why? You know, you have 10-point lead, 7.5 point lead. You miss on the other side, you receive 3 point. I can't understand that. You know, okay, regular season it's okay, but playoff, man, come on.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard for me too. Like, I've lived here for 7 years and watching NBA a lot, and coming from that culture of European, like, you know, being smart with the ball, not rushing just for rushing's sake, just for some analytics or pace of play or whatever. It's really hard sometimes to fathom how, you know, what decisions they make. But I mean, luckily so far of the MPJ sword, we haven't fallen on the wrong edge yet, and hopefully we won't. And, you know, because I think they've handled him well and got him into the proper lineups, and he seems to have been improving really rapidly. And not, you know, even after the comments, he wasn't, even after the shot, he was still in his lane, even though he was talking outside his lane, off the court, at the court, he was still playing, you know, well enough for,
you know, there was a fun moment in the game 5 when he scored that 3-point, you know, that dagger. When he pull up for the 3, Jokic already start, you know, this one. He was, and then when he scored, he just said that.
Because if that didn't drop,
Jokic flipped him off. Yeah,
then he would have seen a very fiery Nikola Jokic.
No. Yes.
No.
Yeah. So we talked about. So we can kind of move on, and this is our last little segment of what needs to happen and what you guys hope or predict will happen in Game 7. We know Game 7s are usually slugfests. I think, you know, we as Nuggets usually tend to do, like, you know, Utah was a great offensive series. We had a slugfest. This was, you know, these games are kind of all, you know, defensively for the Nuggets first. So I have a feeling that both teams are just going to shoot the lights out. I don't know why. You know, I don't know why I have the feeling. Nothing. I don't have arguments for that. I just think that everyone will hit every shot, and hopefully we come out on top. Hopefully we have more weapons. And, you know, I think we can hold, you know, they don't have a system, so we are more of a team team role. And we'll start with Ben. We'll start with you. Like, what do you think, and what do you hope or predict, or anything that will happen in defensively, offensively, whatever you want to talk about?
Listen, I think we are going to have a much calmer Game 7 than they are. And the reason why I think that is because we've done it so many times. I think what we're going to see here, and this is a lot of hope as well, but I think what we're going to see here is I think we're going to see everyone apart from Paul George fall lower than what we expect them to be for the Clippers. Everyone apart from Kawhi Leonard, not Paul George. Excuse me. I think Kawhi Leonard is going to play really well. We're not going to. I mean, Kawhi Leonard is an incredible player, and I have got so much respect for Kawhi Leonard. I don't think Paul George is. I mean, this is just my personal opinion. I could get shot down for this. I don't think Paul George is as good as people think he is. That's just my opinion.
I agree.
He's a good defensive player. He's a good offensive player. He's so hot and cold that he doesn't scare me. Because he can have nights where he can shoot 30 plus, but he can have nights where he can come up with 9 points. He doesn't terrify me. Kawhi Leonard is going to have a good game tomorrow. I can feel it. But I just don't think any other Clippers are going to step up enough to be able to, step up to the level in which they will need to step up to beat us when we're playing the way we're playing, with confidence, cohesion, and when we turn that defense on like we did in the second half, I genuinely, and call me a homer, but I genuinely don't think there's a team in the league that can beat us when we play defense like that. Because that second half, our defensive intensity was incredible. So if we play defense like that, if we manage to, Kawhi's going to get his piece. He's going to do his thing. But I have full confidence that the rest of the Clippers aren't going to step up to the level they're going to need to. That's my take.
Yeah, Evan, so what do you think? I kind of tend to agree. They don't have really a system. And, compared to Toronto last year with Game 7, Kawhi had 40 points and a game winner. So we can expect him to be, to play well. But as a system, Clippers really are a bunch of individuals playing together, but not together really.
Yeah.
So Evan, what do you think? What are your hopes or predictions for Game 7?
Yeah, I think it'll be a close one. Kawhi's going to get his. Paul George is going to take a lot of shots, whether they go in or not. I don't think it'll make that much of a difference either, because outside of those two, they've gotten 0 from everyone else. And for the Nuggets, Jokic is going to get his. But then the question is, who else is going to step up? Because, like I was saying earlier, they've got enough depth. It just, who will have the hot hand tomorrow night? Will it be MPJ? That'd be awesome. Will it be Harris? Murray will get his. But then kind of the fringe guys, Grant, Millsap, Craig, 1, 2, or 3 of those guys have to show up as well. And, just given the way the last few games have gone, I think the Nuggets are feeling pretty and ready to go. And, Paul George is saying that he thinks the Clippers are still in the driver's seat. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think the Clippers are going to psych themselves out too. They're going to come out and try and force a lot of stuff. Denver just has to show up and play Nuggets basketball, and I think they'll take it. It'll be close, but they'll take it.
Yeah, Milan, what do you think are not skipping steps going to, prove to be a better way to go? Getting mercenaries.
Imagine you do this the 4th time in a row. You play in Game 7. And this is the first time you don't have pressure of winning the game. So that says everything how the Nuggets play. And that's why I'm sure the Nuggets will have the flow of offense, good defense, and the Clippers will be, they are terrified now, I think. Paul George said that, but we all would know that he doesn't mean that. And one thing Van Gundy said last night, he tell great stuff, said that tomorrow game, it would be best to start with 19 points lead for the Clippers, and we don't then go in and start to play. And so, I don't really hope for that to happen, but I'm 100% positive Nuggets win this game, and I'm gonna drink so much that day. You got me. I'm skipping work that day for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I agree. Like it's a fourth straight seven game 7 game series, and Nuggets, they were down in a lot of those. San Antonio won, the Utah won twice now, but game sevens, all those three, like I don't believe they were down in those games big. Like usually they come out to play. The problem, more of a problem for the Nuggets at this point was if they get too big of a lead, they seem to relinquish it and relax. Like we saw that with Portland and Utah, almost losing. So hopefully we don't get the other side of that.
Sorry, but they were in pressure of winning, and
true.
They play home game against San Antonio. They play home game against Portland, and everyone expecting you to win. This time, play loose, enjoy, have fun, and destroy the Clippers.
Yeah, I agree. At this point, I'm not going against you, Milan, because you've been the steady hand of this group, and you predicted pretty much every comeback. So Miroslav,
it's scary, Milan. Scary, what you predicted
with the madness and calmness at the same time.
Right. That's what freaks me out the most. Yeah.
He was the biggest detractor from the Nuggets at this point, but also just the best cheerleader.
Just look at his tweets during the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Miroslav, sorry.
You need to how to say to get angry and mad on your kids, but you need to love them,
Exactly.
And you will always love them, and you will always cheer for them.
Yeah, brilliant.
So Miroslav, you've been waiting for a while if we get to you, but will the Nuggets be the first team in history to come back from a back-to-back 3-1 hole, and then so lovingly wave goodbye to Patrick Beverley and Paul George and the other ring chasers on the Clippers? What needs to happen? What do you think needs to happen, and what will happen?
Well, first of all, I have an interesting number to give you. I read a tweet from Matt Moore, our guy, and Matt is covering the betting business in the NBA for a long time. And for this game, the Clippers are favored by 7.5 points against the Nuggets, which is pretty high. And he looked it up, and out of all game sevens in the history, when one team was favored by 6 points or more, they've been 16 of these games, and only 10 times did the favorite team win. So if you just forget who these teams are, Nuggets have like 37% chance of winning without knowledge about the how to say the background of the series and how the games went on. Another thing, I think I disagree with you, Voya, about the shooting part of this game. I think it will be a slugfest. I think the Nuggets will shoot pretty bad, and I think the Clippers will shoot terribly.
Even worse.
I think they will be so bad. It will be so frustrating for them. And you need to understand, Kawhi and Paul George have only one more season on Clippers. They have a player options after that. But if they don't win this series, one of them is out of there. You also have Trez Harrell, who is in his contract year, and he wants to play, he wants to show off, and he's been really bad in this series.
He can play for Atlanta.
Yeah, so he probably will. Atlanta or Charlotte or whatever. So this is the thing. Clippers are under a ton of pressure. They don't want to admit it because they want to keep their guys alive, relaxed. But man, if they lose this one, they will be mocked for next 2 months until the next season starts.
2 years.
So this is something the Nuggets should and will use against them. And okay, let's go 95 to 88 Nuggets.
Oh, we're flipping that spread on them. I believe we'll win. You might be right. Like I'm talking about, shooting the lights out just because the Nuggets are flipping everything on its head up to this point, and every game 7 is a slugfest, and how the series went. And so I might be wrong. I'm probably going to be wrong, but I have this feeling there's just like they're in the flow, and Milan said they don't have a pressure on them. So I can see everyone just making, on the Nuggets at least, like making everything.
Yeah.
The Clippers, the problem,
Yeah.
what you said, like they're going to press because of that whole pressure and the hero ball they play. I mean, it's not really a system. It's as I've been keep repeating this show, it's just Kawhi is good. Paul George can be good, but the rest of the guys are just kind of there and picking up the scraps as much as they can. And yep.
I think another point we have to remember is that when the Clippers are under pressure, like they were in the last game, look at players like Patrick Beverley feeling pressure and getting fouled out.
Yeah.
Like they feel that pressure on the defensive end as much as they do on the offensive end. So,
there is only one thing I'm afraid of. The refereeing. That's the only thing I'm scared of in the game 7. And I already see the tell me the name of the refs that
Tony Brothers.
Oh my God, he will refereeing 100%.
yeah, but there's a crazy stat that we are now 19-2 in games that we have been refed by Tony Brothers. So
I love that guy.
I don't mind if
love
Tony
him.
Brothers refs this game. I don't.
You bring up a good point though with the reffing. I mean, like, because the first half it was like night and day. Every call was going against us on the Clippers, and then. But I'm surprised we haven't talked about it yet either. But that one play where Paul George basically speared Jamal Murray, that changed everything. And so, not only was Jamal fired up, and that's when he plays his best, when he gets knocked down, but everyone rallied around him. And they started chipping away at the lead. It's not like they came out and started hitting threes. They got to the line like multiple times, and that's how they got the lead back. Yeah. So that's what they got to do. They got to be aggressive like that and make the Clippers foul out, make Patrick Beverley, who is the biggest whiner I've ever seen, foul out like that. That was awesome.
And listen, I love your point. I love your point because, but in game 5, we were in the bonus in that third quarter with 10 minutes left to go, and we didn't attack. And I think that was a big factor in why we were so aggressive in that third quarter, because they realized in that game 5, we were in the penalty for 10 minutes, right? And didn't utilize it. And then you get to game 6 and you get to that third quarter and you think, how are we going to chip away at this lead? They thought, let's get to the line. And, you just think you'd love to see more of that.
I sent really nice tweet to Paul George about that play when he clamped the Murray on that play. And he didn't stay and help the guy, he ran down the court, shoot the 3 and score, and
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, I hope that won't be a factor. I hope we don't talk about like usually we do with the Serbian national teams, and it's always the refereeing, and I hope that's not the big takeaway. And even if it is, like hopefully Nuggets can overcome it. I think at this point that the Clippers have played that card too soon, with worrying about the refereeing and talking up about Jokic flailing, quote unquote. And I just at that point I think the refs at this point they might have just kind of were fed up with the Clippers as well. As much as they were calling, but that game 6 just like we shot the same amount of free like we just want that. We don't even need to shoot like 16 more free throws in the Clippers, just at least the same amount, because again we're better free throw shooters than they are too. Especially with Montrezl Harrell and Zubats getting fouled, not a lot of time. So yeah, I mean, it's as far as it seems like it's a unanimous Nuggets. We win at 7. I think we're about time to wrap up. So I like to thank everyone for staying with us. You can follow our work at Colorado Europe website, the YouTube, Twitter with the same name, and Facebook page. Stay tuned. As we'll be coming to you very soon. With the Nuggets Game 7 win, and will be another. I don't know what hype train velocity will be at that point, but it's going to be crazy. And just to think about playing the Lakers, and I'll just give myself a little second to just think about what the Lakers fans will do to the Clippers fans is going to be very funny, especially with their second 3-1 letdown, because they already did that with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin with Doc Rivers as the coach. So. Thank you everyone again. Thank you guys for doing the show with and being so good. I'll just say pozdrav in Serbian to all our Serbian fans. So.
Oh my God.
Let's go.
Oh my God. You're not serious, man.
About this, guys.
We're still recording, right?
Brilliant.
You might as well just sing it at this point.
Yeah, we should put the meter on
Karaoke.
on screen. If anyone can do it.
I guess I forget we're also pre-recorded, so we can cut this out.
Yeah.